Ahead of the quarter-final clash this weekend between Wales and Argentina, which is probably one of the most underrated games of this weekend, I've identified each team's 5 key routes to victory. And these are 5 things in which I personally believe will hold each team in good stead to go on and win this crucial test match and book themselves a place in the semi-final. Now firstly, I'm going to start off with Wales. Well, both of these two teams have the same first points. Now that is simply to kick the 3 points. Now both teams have very, very solid defences, and I don't particularly foresee it being a blowout on either side, not particularly high scoring, so the ability to turn possession and territory into points will definitely determine the winner of this match. Now both teams are blessed with absolutely world-class goal kickers, Boffelli for Argentina and Biggar or Anscombe for Wales. Now I always like to say there's no pressure like scoreboard pressure, and I believe that's true. If you're down by sort of 2 scores, you really have to force play and force your attack and press the gamble button, which can then lead to even more mistakes, and the opposition can really punish you. So I think, even if Wales are winning by 5 points, for example, to really push for the 3 points to turn it to 8 points, and then a 2-score game could really make the difference in this encounter, as going 2 scores clear does create a lot of pressure on the opposition. Now the second point for Wales, I think they really need to attack the set piece, and it's something the Welsh are very, very good at. Warren Gatland has installed a real solid set piece, and obviously fitness as well, which is one of the key points he's brought in, but a real solid set piece within the Welsh team. A good line out and a very good scrum, which holds them in good stead in all of their test matches. But I think it will be pivotal in this one, not only to secure their own ball, but also go after the Argentinians, really go after them at scrum time, really put the pressure on. They creaked a little bit against Japan in their previous game, in the last game of the pool stages, so I think the Welsh can really try and utilise their real strong scrum to go after and try and get a couple penalties out of the Argentinians and either turn that into territory or ultimately 3 points per penalty. Now, a line out, I think Welsh might not have the same rewards in which they would get out of the scrum, considering the Argentinian line out has been decent. Montoya is a good line out thrower, but still, even if you can put pressure on that ball, make sure the ball for Lavanini off the top of the line out isn't clean, disrupt it, get a finger on it, anything like that, and just try and stop the Argentinians from using the line out as a point to attack, because the Argentinians love to attack off the fast ball off the top of the line out. Now point number 3 for Wales, kick to compete. Now the Welsh have got some really, really good aerial talents. Even the small players like Rio Dyer get off the ground really well and can compete very competitively. If you look at Lewis Rees-Zammit, he's good in the air as well. And then obviously you've got Liam Williams, and even Josh Adams is a real quality under the high ball. I think Liam Williams is probably in the top players in the world under the high ball. His aerial bombs are really, really impressive. So maybe the likes of Gareth Davies or Thomas Williams at scrum half could put the ball in the air, and maybe Rio Dyer drops to the backfield and you get Liam Williams under that high ball, and it could potentially reap some dividends from that. I think kicking to the Argentinian back 3 might be unnecessary if it's not pressurised. Boffelli's got a big boot on him, so kicking loose to players like that, you could leave yourself open to 50-22s from Boffelli, or the likes of Matteo Carreras really do like to attack from deep, so I'd try and limit the ball that they get in open, expansive spaces if you are on the Welsh perspective. Point number 4, trust the defence and don't overplay. Now the Welsh have an absolutely phenomenal defence, and it's something I've been incredibly impressed over the last few weeks since the World Cup began. Now even before the Rugby World Cup, since Warren Gatland has come in, I think defence is really built off of fitness, and he's improved that massively. And before the World Cup, playing likes of England, they didn't bleed many tries at all, and they've done very, very well defensively. So I think overplaying from their own half is sort of needless, especially if you've got such a good defence. Stick the ball in the air, compete for it, or even just if you kick long, find some space, and then if the Argentinians are coming towards you, the Welsh are relatively comfortable. They don't mind defending. You've got the likes of Jack Morgan, who can make 200 tackles a game, and he's still completely fine and as fresh as he was in the first minute. So the Welsh should really trust their defence, and from playing from your own half and overplaying from your first half, you can leave yourself vulnerable to sort of errors, handling errors, giving away field position in vulnerable areas, and then ultimately penalties such as sealing off, which if you're Welsh you really don't want, because Boffelli can kick them from range very well, and you don't want to be giving them easy opportunities when you can really absorb defensive pressure very well yourself. Point number 5, that sort of links in to what I previously said about discipline is key. Now Boffelli has got an absolute missile attached to his knee, and he can really punish you. Against England, when Argentina beat England last summer. Boffelli's kicking was instrumental in that. He was kicking every single 3 points that was in the English half, and I don't see that changing in this game. I think both 10s will really fancy themselves, even anything sort of up to 48, even 50 metres. They'll give it a good go. So look, discipline will be key for Wales, and that is ultimately derived from playing in the correct areas. Don't overplay from your own half because it's certainly unnecessary. On the Argentinian side, I mentioned about kicking the 3 points. The second point was use the big back rowers in the midfield. Now, the Argentinians have got Gonzalez and some big ball carriers such as Kremer, which they could really use quite effectively. They're such powerful runners that off the line out, they could do things like shorten the line out down to a 5-man line out, and then put those big ball carriers in midfield and try and find players like Bigger, Anscombe, Tompkins, the smaller defenders in the Welsh backline, to try and generate some go forward and put the Welsh defence under pressure that way. Now, I'm sure that tactic is far easier said than done, because you've got the likes of Jack Morgan and some big players like Wainwright who really do well to man match each of the individual big ball carriers. I know from my time playing at fly half, if I saw a big ball carrier lined up in front of me, I'd tap the flanker and say, look, I'm going to shift out, so they have to fill in. So things like that I think is going to be important, because Gonzalez and Kremer, if you get them running down the channel of an outside half, you'll have to be on your game, because they can really hurt you, and they've got some real good speed. They're pretty fast big ball carriers and very dynamic, and that could lead to many a line break. The Argentinians have also got some very fast outside backs like Lucio Cinti, so that's why I've said play to the width. Now, getting the ball in the hands of players like Matteo Carreras, Cinti, all of the backfield players, it could be a real, just give them the ball. It could be as literally as simple as that. I think it's really important that those players do see the ball quite a lot in the game. You don't want to get to the latter stages of the game and go, they didn't even touch it. What could they have done if they got the ball? Because ultimately, you want to find out on the field. And the likes of Matteo Carreras, even against Japan, who have got a reasonable defence, they're not one of the lower tier 2 nations that you can rip through easily. They showed that they can, Matteo Carreras can just break through a tackle, just without any sort of resistance. If you're not holding him real tight or chop him low, he can just rip a leg out of a tackle, fend, and he's off, and you're not catching him. So the Welsh will have to have their wits about them, but just simply using the width for Argentina, just get the ball in the hands of your danger men. Cinti, see what they can do, and ultimately try and make some line breaks through playing to the width. Obviously, you've got to earn the right to go wide. Don't be just playing left to right like it's under 7s tag rugby, but you have to play to the width once the forward momentum has been generated by the big forwards like Kremer that I've mentioned. Blitz defence, I think, is going to be key for Argentina. Or in more simple terms, I've written get off the line. For the simplified version of what a blitz defence is, really try and put the pressure on Wales in attack. Take the space away from some of their key decision makers like Bigger, Tompkins, for example, who does quite a bit of decision making and distribution for Wales. He's relatively not really inexperienced, but he's not necessarily a sort of a 50 cap test match international. He's still vulnerable to make mistakes, so really try and ramp the pressure up on the Welsh decision makers, and obviously try and force them into making some errors in their own half, which can provide the Argentinian side with a good attacking platform to then go and attack the Welsh. I think that'll be crucial, because if they're sort of not getting off the line and they're a little bit lazy or tired, then ultimately the Welsh can just find the holes, and they're very good at finding the holes. Gareth Davies loves a snipe. Thomas Williams at scrum half loves a snipe. So if you're not getting off the line quickly, they'll find ways of sort of ducking and weaving and creating some space that way. Point number 5, try and keep the ball in play. Now look, this could almost come back to bite Argentina, so maybe it's not the greatest of points, because the Welsh do love the ball in play, because they can really draw upon their fitness, which ultimately they pride themselves on. But I think keeping the ball in play off of a kicking game, likes of Boffelli, if he kicks it midfield, if the Welsh were to believe a loose kick back, that offers the opportunity for the likes of Matteo Carreras and Boffelli and the other wingers to get involved and then get their hands on the ball and counter-attack. Now, the Argentinians, I think, have got a real solid counter-attack on them. Obviously, they have struggled this World Cup. That's not something too hard to figure out, but especially against Japan is what I'm drawing most of these points off of. They do very well on the counter-attack if you kick loosely to them. So look, those are my 5 points for each team, and the 5 things I believe each team can utilise to go on and win this crucial quarter-final test match and book themselves a place in the ultimate semi-final and give them the shot at making the big time, the Rugby World Cup final. all is to play for. I'm sure it'll be a very, very good game. And look, I think it's potentially one of the most underrated games of the weekend. Everyone's focusing on France and South Africa and New Zealand and Ireland. So look, this is one not to be slept on. Make sure you tune in and watch it. I'm sure it will be a good watch. And yeah, let me know your thoughts on my 5 points for each team. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? And add potentially some of your own points in there as well. But yeah, I'll get back to all your comments, and thank you very much for watching.